Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. In today's video, I thought it would be a fun one to take a quick look at how insane CvC can be in Raid Shadow Legends. We just had the biggest battle of clan versus clan of all time happen. 168 million points for Imperium, 153 million points for Gods and Legends. I believe prior to this CvC, that the record, the world record, the top, was about 80 million. So both of these clans have pretty much doubled the previous world record in terms of points. Let's take a look. How the heck did they do it? How much does it cost, roughly speaking, as well? I mean, let's take a gander, shall we? We're going to be, I highly recommend checking out KRAKENS' video. He is, in fact, I'm going to give it a thumbs up right here while I'm there. He is relatively new to making videos on YouTube. I believe he hit, I was checking out some of his streams during this. I think he hit 2K subs there. I just did a collab with him recently as well over on Shinny's channel with Shinny and Drock and myself and Kryson chatting about Siege. If you haven't seen that, it's a good video too. But you can see he himself did 5.7 million points. And we can see the sort of the breakdown here for IPR and GNL. He's obviously on the IPR side, so he's going to be talking you through it. Now, this is pretty crazy. Like, if we jump over to the actual areas in game, well, campaign not really happening. Champion objectives, pretty big chunk. So that is mostly booking champions, really. You can also like ascend, stuff like that, get some fairly quick points too. But I say booking champions. The thing is that you kind of run out of champions. You also run out of books as well, unless you're going to pay a ton of money for them. You also get a ton of points for getting new champions, but, you know, again, there's a limited amount of new champions. So I would say probably, theoretically, the highest points probably possible for CvC would be to just constantly pull sacred shards. But given that a sacred shard is, I don't know, that's roughly, it's like $15 or $20. You could pull one every, I don't know, 5 seconds or so. I don't know. You could spend an insane amount of money very quickly. I don't believe anyone really did that. It's much more about spending energy. Campaign is not much. Potion keeps nothing. Funny enough, I'm cracking up at this. Both clans doing a tiny bit of Minotaur. It's nice to know, isn't it? It's nice to know that even the absolute top clan in the world record fight, even the two top clans in CvC in the game, bar none, yeah, you still can't stop your members from doing a cheeky little bit of Minotaur farming, can you? Terrible for points, terrible for the time invested, but you just can't stop it. So whenever people are farming Minotaur in your clan, it always, every clan I've been in, there's always like, who's farming Minotaur? It just can't be stopped. People they cannot resist the lure of the Minotaur. He calls to people. Dragon, basically no one's touching it. Ice Golem, basically no one's touching it. Fire Knight, actually a bit being run there. I believe Kryson said it's actually just one guy. One guy in their clan has just an insane Fire Knight team, and he did that. But other people aren't really touching it. He's blocking something here, which is, let me see if he actually goes a bit further. Yep, there we go. So Fire Knight, you see Spider, big chunk of points, 21.15 million. Sand Devil, huge chunk of points, 43.61 million. Shogun, 35.26 million. Iron Twins, 2x, but it's not even worth the time. Faction Wars, I guess people might do some of their daily runs. They're pretty quick. Gear objectives, so rolling up gear, another massive chunk of points. And yeah, I think when we come down then at the bottom, yeah, here we go at the bottom. See the Forge, couple of million. And gems, it's a ton of gems spent, tons. But it's not giving you that many points. It's really what you're doing with the gems. But my goodness, a huge amount of gems spent. So what is going on here? I think the biggest sources of points, no question, these are the big three: Spider, Sand Devil, and Phantom Shogun. Reason is, of course, these give you, if we go to objectives, right? Dragon is just dreadful, 200 points per run. Ice Golem is 400 points per run, but it's slow. Fire Knight, 400 points per run. But again, unless you've got absolutely nuts teams, it's pretty slow. Now, Spider's very fast, 400 points. Sand Devil's fast, 400 points. Phantom Shogun is fast. How fast can it be? Well, let's jump over here. This is from Sam Solstice, who, well, it's not their run. It's from Driver from CHQ, Isaac. The account is Oblivion BZK. Okay, so it's this player playing on that account. Cool. This is the world record for Phantom Shogun. Let's see this in action. Okay, and he's dead. 1 second. That's level 25, by the way. So what's happening in this team is basically some really hard hitting. I think actually Leorius maybe. Does he do defense down with his A1? That might be essential. And Turval does weaken with his A1. They both obviously hit really hard. Then Krutraxa and of course Georgid. Ally attack from Lady Mikage. So you need absolutely insane gear for this. And this is not repeatable. If we go on a second here, you can see that, yeah, the others are doing a bit of damage, but it is mostly the Georgid, right? He's doing nearly all of it. You obviously need absolutely crazy gear for this to happen, and Georgid's A1 is that chance to repeat the hit, so I think you need very good luck. So this is not something you're going to be farming like crazy, but if we jump over, yeah, let's look at like the screenshots for some of the top teams for Phantom Shogun. 3 seconds. 3 seconds with Lil Miss Annie, just like buffer up, let her go. 11 seconds with Newts. 13 seconds here against our Lil Miss Annie Razovarg team. 4 Acrisias, 13 seconds. It's that easy. This one's fun with a spider in there, 8 seconds. Taris, a couple of Newts, Kaimar. So there are a bunch of teams. Here's the 1 second run. This one's actually with a ninja instead. So a bunch of different teams. That's really unbelievably fast. For Sand Devil, I think you can do the same thing. You can just one-shot the boss in 1 second. But here we go with Sand Devil. We've got this team like about 8-9 seconds. Insane. Over here, again, 7 seconds or so. Let's actually look at this. I did notice they played music in the previous one, so let me mute it. Again, this is Sam Solstice. Look at that. Boom. Debuff, nuke, reset, go again. Bang. Done. 9 seconds, 9 turns. Just crazy. And the Soul Reap finishes him off. Just crazy. Obviously, it is a little bit longer than 9 seconds. You've got animations, the timer pauses, you got the victory screen animation, but it is nuts. To take a quick gander, I'll just show you a couple of other ones. You can find, this is from the, by the way, again, Sam Solstice runs this, the RSL Leaderboards Discord server. Team here, Octaven with Marius in there. Crazy stuff, and so on. And then finally, let's take a quick look at Spider, which would be Dungeons Heart Scavag over here. Great, so for some Scavag runs, again, the Spider is very quick to kill. Okay, Xavia Bellinor and Acrisia, boom, dead. This one here, some burn explosions, 8 seconds. So it really is all about, you know, what you can farm the fastest. And also consistently. You want a 100% success rate really, really fast. Now, I said, how much would it cost me if I did this? Like without an insane team. I said, okay, you're getting 800 points because super raids work now, right? So it's 400 points per run, but you do super raids, so it's double, 800 points per run, one of the max levels. I'm saying, what if you get 3 runs in per minute? So this is about a 20-second run. Let's go with that. Roughly 20 seconds, or, you know, a little bit lower than that, but factoring in loading screens and animations, the timer pausing. What if you get 3 runs in per minute? Whoops, excuse me. Whoa, spoilers. You could get 2,400 points per minute. You get 144,000 points in a single hour. Okay, so I remember being in clans back in the day, and maybe the point requirements, I don't even know if they were 100,000 or something. And people were like, can't do it. It's way too hard. Man, you can get 144,000 points per hour. You know, for them, it's crazy when you think about it. The maximum for tier 6 of personal rewards is 400,000. You could, in theory, do that in like, what, 3 hours? 3 hours. 3 runs per minute in Spider, Phantom Shogun, Sand Devil, you can get your 400k. That easy, apparently. In 24 hours, if you ran non-stop for 24 hours, which you can do with programs, so they can crash and stuff like RSL Helper. It can crash. You do need to keep checking in and making sure it's working. You could, in theory, get basically 3.5 million. Actually, it's a lovely number. 3, 4, 5, 6. 3.5 million in 24 hours. So you could get potentially 7 million points roughly in 48 hours running it non-stop. Now, obviously, people have to sleep. You might do other stuff in the game as well, but potentially you could do that much, which, you know, it is just nuts. And these guys haven't done quite that much. So, you know, obviously I think sleeping is part of it. If you take any break at all, any pause to do anything else, you're missing out. But then it also puts it in perspective. People doing way, way, way more than that. If you're even faster as well, I suppose. But yeah, this is like 48 hours, no sleep, go, 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 which is insane. I worked out some of the cost for that. I said if you do 3 runs per minute, so you're spending, it's 40 energy per run, that's 120 energy per minute. You're spending 7,200 energy per hour. So this is perhaps why it's not quite so easy, is it, to get your 400,000 points for CvC? Because if it's 7,200 per energy, I mean, simply spend, over 20,000 energy. You can get your 400k CvC points in like 3 hours. This costs over 20,000 energy. That's why. That's why not everyone can do it super easy. It's actually not that easy because you're going to run out of stuff. I figure it's 172,800 energy for 24 hours. And then you could, double that? It's going to be about 350,000 energy over the 2 days. 350,000. In terms of cost, now it depends on the pack, but I put in a number, $1 for 250 energy. I think it can be better than this. It might go up to like 280, maybe 300 energy for $1. But I said 250. Let's go with 250. That's just, a number to go with, just to give it some context. And you could adjust it if you want. So I said you're going to be spending $28.8 per hour. So in one day, in the 24 hours, it's about $700. For the 2 days, it's about $1,400 to do this. Just grinding Sand Devil basically nonstop, or Spider nonstop, or Phantom Shogun. I guess one nice thing about Phantom Shogun and Sand Devil is like you don't get gear drops, so you could potentially be wasting. I mean, unless you set it to sell everything, like you could genuinely have your storage overflow running that much Spider or that much Fire Knight or anything like that. You're gonna overflow, no question. But there you go. It's probably about that. I mean, if we put in, like, let me actually grab a calculator. Just out of curiosity, for let's say 1,400, multiply that by 60 people. $84,000 for Plarium. Potentially $84,000. Now, I mean, one thing that really struck me from watching KRAKENS streams and stuff like that is these guys, they're having a great time. They're like this. They've never fought against each other before, which is insane, by the way. I might do a video on Siege in the next couple of days. I'm going to wait first, because I'm recording this on like Thursday when CvC is still up. Might put this video up tomorrow. I'm going to wait then to see if they announce any changes to Siege. Hopefully there's some, but I'm not expecting them. We'll see. Or plans, at least, would be nice for some changes to Siege. But I might do a feedback video on Siege. But, like one of the complaints for sure, people saying the matchmaking sucked for the first Siege. Well, matchmaking was based off the last 4 CvC tournaments. And I think it's kind of crazy, actually, right? Certainly at the high end. I mean, we're talking about the rank 2 clan and the rank 4 clan. They've never fought before in CvC. This is the first time. Rank 2 and rank 4, how have they never fought before? Now that comes down to really manipulating the CvC scores, and now that's what everyone does. Like for us, it's like get your 400k and then stop. We could do way more, but why would you? It's just getting you a harder match. It's getting you a harder match. But for these guys, it was like this is the ultimate showdown, right? This is the ultimate show. We've got a ton of stuff saved up, because most of them are going to be obviously big spenders. Most of them, we've got a ton of stuff saved up. Now is the time to spend it all. Now is the time to go all out. Obviously, are you getting anything? Like, you could have just said, you know what? You guys win. Okay, cool, whatever. We'll just lose a CvC. You're not getting your money's worth in terms of the in-game rewards. Like, they're getting the same stuff we're getting. It's worth a good chunk, but it's not worth that much. This is really about, and I do respect it, it's about pride, and it's about having a crazy battle in the game. And I actually think that's kind of, I think that's okay, right? Like, it's a ton of money, but like, I mean, I was just looking, like, I think tickets for the Olympics, it was like €400 or something for a seat, like the A ranked, like the top tier stuff, like the really popular events in the Olympics, like €400 per seat. So like, you might go to 3 different events in the Olympics. Yeah, that's what people do. I was chatting to my friend who's actually going. I think you have to book like 3 events at a time. Now you could book cheaper ones as well. You have to book three. You could easily spend uh, a grand or so on that, or you could easily spend it on like a nice big holiday. Listen, if you want to spend that much money, for a once in a lifetime insane battle in CvC, instead of going to the Olympics or going on a big holiday or something like that, I that's okay, right? That's your life, man. Do as you wish. I can. Again, it is a bit like the Olympics. It's a massive fight that doesn't happen all that often. But yeah, I just thought this was interesting to put it in context, to put it in perspective of what's going on. I think maybe there's a bit of a misconception about about CvC, that it's all you can see here. Actually, let me give you a comparison for our clan. So our clan, we've done 14 million. We were what, 88 on the leaderboard. Yeah, 88. So we're still very high up there. It's a very, very different ball game for us. So for us, we can see actually that champion points is a big thing. So much bigger thing, much bigger thing, much bigger proportion, right? Summoning in your legendaries, booking your champions, that sort of stuff. But there's a limit on that, very much so. Like, I mean, if we are hypothetically, like, let's do a hypothetical here. Let's say you can pull, let's say, 6 sacred shards per minute. Okay. And let's say they're $20. So that would be $120 per minute, 60 minutes in an hour. You could spend 7,000 euro per hour. Multiply that by 24. You could spend 172,000. So I do think this is probably pulling sacred shards that you could spend 345,000 euro doing that. And just pull sacreds nonstop. Every duplicate you get is only 10,000. You'd also have to like clear out your space as well, so it would slow you down. But that's absolutely manic money. That's probably the most points you get. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something there. I think that's probably the most you get. Anyway, for us, that's a big chunk. You can see there's still some CvC, still some campaign going. Plenty of Minotaur going in our clan. We're grinding the Minotaur like crazy, boys. We actually lost to the enemy clan. They beat us there. Bit of Dragon Potion. Chunk of that. Fire Knight, a chunk. I think there was a Fire Knight tournament on as well, which is part of this too. Spider's a decent chunk. Sand Devil is a decent chunk. This was a 2x objective as well. Shogun was that. Iron Twins apparently was not maxed out. Just people doing their daily keys. Faction Wars. I think these are actually pretty similar to the IPR score, so it's people doing their dailies. You can see Arena is a big chunk for more casual. Now, again, when you're going more hardcore, Arena is very, very good, guys. Tag team Arena. Tag team. Not like live Arena sucks. Classic Arena sucks. But from my streams, going into Tag Arena, buying a few refills every day for the gems that you spend, right? So for the resources it costs, because you can do it nice and fairly quickly as well, it gives you just a lot of points for a low resource cost. Now, when you go to this massive battle, right, that these guys are doing, it is just too slow, right? You're not getting enough points per time spent. You're trying to get as many points as possible per time. Yeah, it's good points for resources, but it's like just go into the big dungeons and just blast them, right? Demon Lord a chunk, gear objectives, rolling up gear, good chunk, forging gear, decent chunk, and nowhere near as many gems. Still a decent chunk, but nowhere near as many gems spent. So that's more of what like a normal personal reward CvC would look like. Obviously, saving your resources gives you a big chunk of points, big chunk, but then again, spending your energy, saving energy and spending energy and gems for refills, and that is huge. It's absolutely huge. Same thing with your arena objectives, huge. Farming Tag Arena, and then forging and upgrading gear. Now, if we were to go harder, if you're going harder in the CvC, the champion points are obviously going to go up more from people stockpiling resources. But yeah, you'd really expect, again, like we saw, you're expecting the big dungeons, those points going way up. You'd expect, again, this is for our clan, you'd expect the gear objectives to go way up. These would be the four big ones that would go way up if we were pushed to the limit, right? These would be the ones. These are the ones. And champion objectives a bit as well, for sure. So yeah, there you go. That's what CvC can look like on the high end. Yeah, I thought it was just interesting just because, my gosh, the crazy scores. I think what they're trying to do, I think GNL too, I don't know if they were in a big battle between each other as well, or if they're trying to like get GNL 1 match with GNL 2 so that GNL 1 could still win the next CvC, because you're going to match against an absolute top end clan. and you're going to spend a lot of resources, but they might get them all back. Who knows? But there you go, guys. That is sort of a rough look at it. I would say potentially you're looking at potentially like 1,000. Now, obviously, you can have a ton of that stuff saved up. You don't need to buy it all at once, right? You could be spending a medium euphemism potentially a medium amount of money regularly and just sort of stockpiling these resources. And it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll blitz them all right now, and I guess I'll just barely play the game for a while. It's not like you have to spend all this in the 48 hours, but it's about that much worth of resources. I mean, like, again, it's one of those things, like, I could break down the cost for a summoning event. Right? I could say, oh, wow, the summon rush for the fusion, it costs this much, euro. But you could say, well, I could do it free to play, right? I just saved my shards. I did it for free. Never spent a dime. But yeah, in terms of energy, if you were to buy the energy up front, you're probably looking at 1,000 to 1,500. And again, this is for 3 runs per minute. If these guys are doing more than that, like, you could potentially be spending 3,000 for like the top end Krakens, at least, I'd say. So there you go. Let me know what you think about all this. It's nuts. It's nuts. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.